Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings. Today on the program, the sugar high is over. I told you last week the enthusiasm, the avalanche of enthusiasm that you've seen everywhere in the legacy media, social media, everywhere. It's all fake enthusiasm that has been demanded by the party hierarchy. Today, a focus on the real Kamala Harris. Just back in 2020, not that long ago, nobody could stand her. Folks, nobody can stand her today. Everything that you've seen with regards to their enthusiasm is phony, and it's been demanded of them. She's been called, in their own words, the worst candidate in American political history, a do-nothing candidate for vice president, a absolute drag on the party and on the campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, the real Kamala is just a few moments away. We're going to show you who she is. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Doug Billings here with you. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to Monday evening here on The Right Side. Don't forget, if you're watching us on social media, if you're watching us on X, please follow me. Follow me over there on X. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Same thing for Rumble, over on Facebook as well. We're out there, and we appreciate you. We appreciate the people at WorldViewTube bringing us worldtubeview.com. You can go there, check out all of their programming, worldviewtube.com, also Spreely TV, and finally, DougBillings.us. Don't forget, head over to the website. Not right now, wait till the show's over, but then go to DougBillings.us and do me a favor. Click on the Donate Now button where you can prayerfully consider making a monthly recurring donation to the program. It's how I continue to bring you this show. I never charge you for this program. Wouldn't do that. Just decide what you think the truth is, what you think this program may be worth to you, because I can tell you right now, you're not catching any of the truth that I offer here anyplace else. Part of the truth is recognizing that the sugar high that we've seen, this avalanche of absolute fake enthusiasm that has been just cascaded down upon us everywhere you turn, from the legacy media on television, radio, with the podcasters and social media influencers on X or YouTube or Truth Social, Getter, wherever you go, you have seen nothing but an incredible amount of enthusiasm. And it's all fake. It's all fake enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. Just 4 years ago, nobody could stand her. Nothing has changed other than she's their last best hope. That's it. That's the only thing that has changed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fake enthusiasm. And what's more is this enthusiasm that you're seeing has been demanded from the party hierarchy. And if it's demanded, I'm telling you, they've got calls, weekly Zoom conference and Skype calls, and this is where they get their marching orders. Each week, a conference call, Skype call, Zoom call, whatever. Here's your marching orders. Here's your talking points. We've got to show great enthusiasm for Kamala. We've got to make sure that everybody knows she was our gal from the very beginning. Well, I'm going to show you tonight during the course of the program that's a lie. They don't like her now. They didn't like her then. Nothing has changed. You'll see it in their own words, in Kamala's own words. The worst vice president in our history, the worst political candidate in the American Republic's history. And there's one thing to remember here as we begin to peel back the onion, that is Kamala Harris. The Democratic Party that we see today, ladies and gentlemen, is not is not the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy. It's not the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton. It's not even the Democratic Party of Barack Obama. They have blended communism and socialism together. I say this to you from time to time because I want it to sink in. I want this to get out and be spread amongst the masses because it's the truth. There are no more Democrats in the elected class in Washington, D.C. They have blended communism and socialism together. I call them the Communist Socialist Party, and evidence of the obvious is perfectly clear. They are not a pro-America political party. In one of their latest attempts to besmirch President Trump and make fun of him, they've come up with this phrase. Now, it's all, I laugh and I chuckle because none of this sticks. None of it matters. It's childish, it's intellectually immature, and so forth. The latest catchphrase against President Trump is, he's weird. That's what the radical left has come up with as a campaign slogan and motto. As if by saying that, wouldn't cause the majority of Americans throughout the Republic, who happen to be smarter, by the way, than what the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, gives them credit for. You see, ladies and gentlemen, they think you are stupid. It causes us to examine the word weird, and we wonder, they're calling Trump weird? Because then we juxtapose that word weird and its application against the very policies, platform, and politics that the radical left liberal party is all about. So we say, okay, they think Trump is weird. Well, let's look at what they've done. And we look then at what Kamala Harris advocates and what she puts forth. Remember, the radical left offer nothing of substance when they say he's weird. To them, what that means is they don't like his posts on social media. They think he's weird because of that. They don't like his personality. All right, they think he's weird because of his personality. They don't like his patriotism. They don't like the fact that he stands in their way, fundamentally so, of transforming America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. Trump stands in their way. And when you look at what normal, intellectually mature Americans feel about the words normal versus weird, it's obvious that normal people, and I typically don't like the word normal, I like typical much better. Typical people identify with the belief in God. Typical people believe in and support the founding fathers and their original intent with regards to the words in our Constitution and Declaration of Independence. Typical normal people believe in making America great again, that there's nothing wrong with that. Typical normal people, Americans, they stand for life, human life, at all stages. Typical normal Americans believe in secure borders. Typical Americans believe in American exceptionalism, and we're not embarrassed to admit that. Typical normal Americans believe that we need to return to the American Judeo-Christian principles upon which this republic is built. Typical and normal Americans believe in traditional family values. Typical and normal Americans believe in traditional morality. And traditional American people believe in a strong, non-woke military. We believe in individual liberty. Typical Americans believe in states' rights and how they outrank the powers of the federal government. Typical normal Americans believe that we are given a gender by God at birth. Typical normal Americans believe in traditional roles for men and women, that men and women are different. And traditional men and women, normal, typical folks, believe that we should do things like fund the police, build up our security, build up a border, build up all of the things that helps make America great again. And for the radical liberal left, all of that is weird. And so they try to put Trump under that weird umbrella, and everything that I just read off, that whole long laundry list of things that typical Americans believe in, the radical liberal movement does not. They don't believe that God exists. They advocate that, look, this is barbaric and it's brutal. And what I'm about to say, these words are not pleasant, but they need to be said. The radical liberal movement in America, the movement that Kamala Harris represents. They advocate that minors, children, should be able to mutilate their genitalia if they feel as if they have been gender misappropriated, as if that's even possible. It's not. The radical liberal movement, as personified by Kamala Harris and what she stands for, believes that men should be allowed to play in women's sports. The radical left liberal movement, personified by Kamala Harris, pretends that a group like the LGBTQ kook community represents a vast majority of us, when it doesn't. That group represents 0.08% of the American population. Yet that side, the radical left kook fringe of Kamala Harris, acts as if that segment, that demographic, is a majority. They believe Kamala Harris represents a group of people that believe that dismantling or expanding our Supreme Court is what we should be doing. That is in direct opposition to the original intent of our founding fathers. They believe, the radical left, as put forth by Kamala Harris and what she represents, they believe in drag time story hour for children in public schools and libraries across the Republic. The radical left liberal party, as personified by Kamala Harris, does not even know how to define a man or a woman. Let's be clear. They know, but they want to change it. The radical left liberal party, as represented by Kamala Harris, claims that the term non-binary is actually possible with regards to how someone might identify personhood or gender. It's abject ridiculousness. It's Kookville on parade. And this is what Kamala Harris and the radical left all stand for. This is all going to be coming out. I'm going to show you evidence of all of this during the show today in their own words, by their own definitions, standards, and terms. They are Kookville. And they think that they've got this grasp of enthusiasm and this monumental surge, and they'll show you polls that are cherry-picked that have no basis in reality. The radical liberal left is a freak show, ladies and gentlemen, and it's comprised of a coalition of immorality. They have a real desire, the radical left does, to transform America away from God and the intent of the founding fathers. In fact, their pursuit, and now listen to this is an important concept to grasp, especially in this election cycle. The radical left pursuit of the presidency, believe it or not, is not their primary goal. It is secondary to their desire to move the political needle in this country to the left. I want to make that clear. It's not the primary goal of the radical left to win the presidency. That is not their primary goal. Their primary goal is to make America more liberal. And by every utterance of nonsense, LGBTQ kook movement nonsense, every time we talk about defunding the police or expanding or dismantling the Supreme Court or doing away with the Electoral College, anytime we talk about no borders and giving voting rights to illegal immigrants, every time we talk about erasing debt, student debt, housing debt, hell, if you own an RV, we'll get rid of that debt. Anytime we talk about any of these things, they're moving the needle to the left, or they're trying to. And that's their primary goal. Now, it would be great in their view if they got the presidency. Don't get me wrong, they wouldn't reject it, but that's not the driving force. The driving force is continually move the country towards the left. And believe me, her nomination, Kamala's nomination, is by no means a foregone conclusion. They still have to get through a Democrat National Convention in August. And that's going to be no easy task. I know that you've seen an avalanche of endorsements. I know that even Barack Obama came out because he had to. He saw the writing on the wall. Look, there are many people and many groups within that party who are not happy with the fact that they were not given a voice to choose who the nominee will be. Key among those groups is Black Lives Matter, the American homegrown terror group itself, coming out against Kamala Harris and not endorsing her. Antifa, all of these radical groups. In fact, a lot of people who are not radicalized, just John and Jane Doe on the streets of America, who may have voted for Administrator Biden, are angry today and put off by the fact that they weren't given a voice. And those people, by the millions, are coming over to the right side. 4 years ago, every liberal pundit, every liberal media anchor and broadcaster, social media influencers, podcasters, all of them, all of the radical left woke kook fringe within the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, could not stand Kamala Harris. And to be clear, they still can't stand her. She represents the most liberal politician in the history of American politics. The only reason that they're glamming onto her now is because it's the only person who has any smidgen of national recognition. Michelle Obama was never going to be the candidate, folks, and she's still not. There are a lot of people out there, oh, wait till this convention. Michelle Obama is going to. She is not. Ladies and gentlemen, you can bank on that. First of all, Michelle Obama has too much baggage, if you know what I mean. But she's not going to be the candidate. She's not going to be the nominee. So by running Kamala Harris, by putting her in, by inserting her, they accomplished their primary goal, and that is to move the needle to the left in this country politically. I'm going to show you, in their own words, people saying exactly that. Before I go, though, and before you take a break into capitalism that was invented by God to fund America, by the way, I want to remind you again, please prayerfully consider heading over to DougBillings.us, DougBillings.us, and consider donating, setting up a monthly recurring donation. And when you go over there, soon you'll be able to see information about my Determined Patriotism Conference. It's going to be happening in Branson, Missouri, September 27th and 28th. I'm going to get more information about that to you, but mark your calendar, September 27th and 28th in Branson, Missouri. There's the website. Take a look at that beauty. And there's where you can set up the monthly recurring donation. I never charge you for this show, ladies and gentlemen. Just please decide, what is the truth worth to you? And then head over there to DougBillings.us and set it up. Okay, listen, going a little bit long here in this segment. I got to get out of here, let you take a break. I will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, the right side with Doug Billings. Do not go away. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older. And it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. liveyoungerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great, and so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The Right Side with Doug Billings. Hey, every year or so, I conduct these conferences called the Determined Patriotism Conference. You know, determined patriotism is one of my catchphrases. I use it all the time because we've got to be determined in our patriotism, how we reclaim the republic back to the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. So I bring together speakers, people who you've seen and heard on social media and TV and so forth. And we have the Determined Patriotism Conference. Here you go. This is the website. Now, it's a little bit of a long name, determinedpatriotismconference.com. determinedpatriotismconference.com. Head over there, check it out. September 27th through the 28th, Branson, Missouri. We're going to have a great 2-day conference. We're going to go out and see a Branson show on Friday night, Friday and Saturday, filled with speakers, relevant speakers. So we're going to be talking about reclaiming the republic, about how we do it. What does determined patriotism mean? To teach you how to get involved in your local levels and to have a lot of fun during those 2 days. So we'll see a lot of speakers, Tom Renz, Christy Hutcherson. We've got Father James Altman there, Joe Flynn, the brother of General Michael Flynn. We're looking to get Mel Kay, and we're going to have, Hannah Faulkner and Alexander Stone, Lucky Basseri, 3 of the most prominent Generation Z podcasters going, and more speakers to be added to this list. And be looking, because we're going to get some big names. They're going to be, not that the other names aren't big, but we're going to get some tier 1 level influencers and media members at that event. So determinedpatriotismconference.com. Make sure you go over there, get your tickets. Not expensive, and it just covers the venue and the cost to get people there and out. So no, it's not a profit center. It's a place where we can learn and become inspired about getting involved in our local level to reclaim the republic. So determinedpatriotismconference.com. Okay. Back to the woman who nobody likes, Kamala Harris, and her run for presidency. I'm telling you, nobody likes her. Nobody ever did. Nothing has changed, other than the fact that this is the only chance they've got. This is their last best effort to get the presidency, which is not, believe it or not, their primary driving goal here. As again, I said before the break, their primary goal is to move the liberal needle to the left as far as they can get it. And what better person than Kamala, who is, without a doubt, without question, the most liberal politician that America has ever produced. That's their goal. They want to move the needle to the left. Now, obviously, as I said, they'd be very happy to take the presidency if they can get it. Thank you very much. But that's not their goal. Now, I want to show you what people really think about Kamala Harris. People in the liberal party, in the legacy media, in the elected class, the celebrity class, all of it. Because I'm telling you, nobody out there really likes her. The enthusiasm that you've seen flooding, absolutely flooding social media sites, legacy news media and newscasts, it's all fake, and it's all been demanded by the party hierarchy. Now, understanding what I mean by fake is easy, right? It means they don't mean it. The enthusiasm that you see, they don't mean it. But what do I mean by demanded? What do I mean by when I say the party has demanded that we usher in this cascade and avalanche of enthusiasm? Well, like I said in the prior segment of the show, the hierarchy of this party, and I don't know if this is lost on people or if they really realize that this is the truth, but they have weekly and sometimes bi-weekly meetings, depending on how busy the news week is. They get everybody together. They get members of the key players in the media, key players in the elected class, key players even in the celebrity class. Obviously, key players in the podcasting and influence industry is where they get them all together, and they have a conference call, and they discuss what is the topic of the day, what will be our talking points. And the liberal hierarchy within this communist-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, has demanded from all of these people that they put forth fake enthusiasm, that they push out on every platform possible. Kamala's our girl. Kamala's the one that we've always wanted. Oh my gosh, why didn't we put her up there before? The elected class, party delegates, the celebrity class, members of the media, social media influencers, all of them given these marching orders. So that's why you see so much of this enthusiasm. It's everywhere when you're looking at social media. But I'm going to show you what the truth really is. And this first clip is a montage. It's a montage of people talking about how Kamala is the worst candidate in American history, the worst vice president we've ever had. People on the radical left, ladies and gentlemen, in their own words, telling you the truth about how they feel with regards to Kamala. Clip number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
Doug Billings.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Swing voters don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see the vice president. What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where is the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The point that Lester Holt was making was obvious to anyone else who was watching this interview, which is that the issues at the border are inextricably linked with the portfolio that she's been given.
The border is secure. We have a secure border.
Bidenomics is working.
Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up.
He picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. She was ranked and is ranked as the most liberal senator in the United States Senate. So he could have gone the other way, but he went to the left.
Joe Biden is running for re-election, and I will be his ticket mate. Full stop. Full stop. Sit.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Okay, so look, folks, again, it's kind of like the train wreck analogy. Why are people paying attention to this? Why is all of this? Because more people want to stop and slow down and look at a train wreck, right? It's a train wreck. She is an absolute joke, and the party knows it. Nobody with any shred of intellectual maturity over on that side is actually confident about this. That's how they really feel about her. Nothing has changed other than it's the only one we've got. So let's throw it against the wall, see if it sticks, and march forward. And meanwhile, we'll just try to move the radical liberal needle to the left as far as we can in American politics. That's what they're after. They're faking every bit of the enthusiasm that you've seen everywhere on radio, television, and social media. They do not mean it. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. So with this whole explosion of enthusiasm, the dust is going to settle, and we're going to begin to talk about the real Kamala. And the real Kamala is going to have to address the abject failure that she's made of the vice presidency and of American political candidacy in general. She's turned the vice presidency into a no-show operation, a no-show job. She's a vice pretender. She's not a vice president. What about the summer riots? Remember back in the summer of 2021? Remember that Love Fest? Yeah, sure you do. When cities all across the republic, cities, mind you, that are run, led, and managed by members of the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, in these cities. We saw it happen in real time back in 2021. Riots, looting, murder, rape, vandalism, arson, and anarchy. All of it was encouraged by the radical left liberal hierarchy. And in return for their anarchy, and in return for the pillaging of businesses, for their attack upon law enforcement officers, in return for their attacks on innocent civilians, in return for all of that, Kamala Harris offers them asylum, personal protection, and bailout money. When she advocated in Minnesota, for example, the Minnesota Freedom Fund. It was like a GoFundMe page for violent anarchists. So let me refresh your memory about this beautiful moment with regards to Kamala Harris. Here's the summer of 2020, the real Kamala and her Freedom Fund. Clip number 2, ladies and gentlemen.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Harris sending this out on X. If you're able to chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota.
Thanks to Harris's promotion, the group reportedly raised $35 million in just a few weeks.
Darnica Floyd, charged with second-degree murder for stabbing a friend to death. And she got out of jail, too. A twice-convicted rapist, currently charged with kidnapping and sexual assault, and he walks out, too.
The Freedom Fund raked in donations when it was promoted by many, including now Vice President Kamala Harris.
Sean Michael Tillman shot and killed a passenger on a train platform after reportedly being released from jail 3 weeks prior. All thanks to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Donovan Boone was charged with breaking into the home of an ex-girlfriend and choking her. Freedom Fund bailed him out for $3,000 cash, and he hasn't shown up for court since.
I often don't even look at a charge specifics when I bail someone out.
The Hennepin County attorney called out the Minnesota Freedom Fund for bailing Mosley out of jail twice previously, even though he was arrested for having a gun in the courthouse.
The Minnesota Freedom Fund, which pays cash bail for low-income criminals, paid Tims's entire $10,000 bail in cash. 11 days later, police found a man bleeding from the head and ears in this alley. Police were able to arrest Tims in connection to this violent assault.
Howard was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The Minnesota Freedom Fund acknowledged supporting Howard's bail.
Abhorrent, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what Kamala Harris helped to establish, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, whereby violent anarchists were bailed out of jail. Now, this is typical of what people like Kamala Harris do, radical liberals who are in charge of district attorneys and attorney state generals. They will not prosecute with extreme prejudice. She's going to have to answer for this. I've got a lot to talk about with regards to that clip, but I'm also up against a break. I want to remind you about DougBillings.us. Please head over there. And also, if you want to get in on the program and be a caller, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. Call in. Let's talk about the real Kamala, what your thoughts are. I want to hear from you. Stay with me during this break, and I'll be right back. Cheers.
I'm Brandon House. This is your Worldview Tube News Break brought to you by WorldviewTalk.com. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was met by angry protesters on Monday as he visited the site of a deadly Hezbollah rocket strike in the Golan Heights where 12 children were killed on Saturday. The Times of Israel reports that a crowd of Druze residents dressed in black gathered outside the soccer field where those 12 children were killed, and while Benjamin Netanyahu was touring the area with local leaders. The crowd chanted in Hebrew for him to leave. Protesters, they pushed up against the barriers as Netanyahu toured the area, and some were yelling at him and calling him a murderer. Others held signs calling Netanyahu a war criminal. He ignored the demonstrators, and he pledged a harsh reprisal against Hezbollah for that Iranian-backed group that killed those children. They, of course, have been firing rockets into Israel from Lebanon for months. I'm Brandon House. This has been your Worldview Tube News Break brought to you by WorldviewTalk.com. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top-grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from the fruited plains of America.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism. Reminding you, we have a Determined Patriotism Conference coming up September 27th and 28th in Branson, Missouri. I invite you all to head over to the website, determinedpatriotismconference.com. determinedpatriotismconference.com. There it is. Get tickets over there, information. It's going to be in Branson, Missouri on Friday and Saturday, the 27th and 28th of September. On Friday, we'll have great conference speakers. Also that night, heading out to Branson Theater, shows and so forth. Saturday, a dinner together, some entertainment that night. It's going to be a great time to get together to hear about how we can be determined in our patriotism. More speakers being added by the week over there. All right, so back to it. Ladies and gentlemen, the fake enthusiasm surrounding Kamala Harris, the way that people really feel about her. That clip that we saw just before the break, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, that is an abhorrent example of what liberal people do, especially liberal prosecutors and attorneys general, district attorneys, and so forth. They never prosecute with extreme prejudice violent criminals, for example. And she, Kamala, falls into that same role. That's what she used to do in California. She would not prosecute with extreme prejudice violent criminals. And in the rare occasion when she did prosecute them, she advocated for light sentences and for early release. This is typical of liberals. She opted instead to arrest black men for smoking marijuana, and she would use those incarcerated prisoners for manual labor needs throughout all of California, and many times extending their sentences beyond what was deemed appropriate and traditional. So not a good person. Look, she's one of the examples that I often mention with regards to violent crime, the violent crime problem that we have in this republic, especially when liberals get all bent out of shape and they try to spin the violent criminal problem as a gun problem. That's what they do. Violent crime is a gun problem. It's not a gun. It is a violent criminal problem. And that's what we do have in America. Violent criminals who are not prosecuted with extreme prejudice. We do not have a gun problem. It's following the laws that are already on the books that's a problem for these liberals. The reason that we have violent criminal problems in America is because that radical liberal district attorneys and states attorneys general do not prosecute these violent criminals with extreme prejudice. They do not do it. And Kamala Harris is a prime example of someone in that group. Now, that begs the question, why do they do it? Why don't they prosecute criminals with extreme prejudice? Why don't they keep them in jail for their full sentences? Why don't they sentence them to extreme sentences instead of light sentences? Why do they let them out early? Those are all logical questions. The reason is the only conclusion that we can draw is this, and it's a frightening one. But what other truth can we arrive at with regards to this problem of them not prosecuting and putting in jail violent criminals? The reason must therefore be that they want chaos in America. They want violent crime to happen. What other conclusion can we draw? Why would they want violence and chaos in America? Really? That's what we've had the last 4 years. Just look at the border for Exhibit A. They want it because they think in times of chaos, people will depend upon the federal government to come to their rescue. And every time that happens, we chip away at our individual liberties and our states' rights. So they want violence and chaos. In fact, if there's periods of time where there's not violence and chaos, their mantra is create one. Let's create a crisis. Let's create chaos and then manage it and spin it. And then when the time is right, like an election year, for example, let's then pretend like we really care about solving those problems, when in fact, they're the ones that started them. You'll also see that Kamala has on her back all of the policies, the platform, and the politics that belong to Biden. She is now the standard bearer of the Biden administration. And she was, by the way, there's a lot of a lot of talk about this, the border czar title, right? She was the border czar. We saw it. Biden gave her this responsibility in real time. I showed you news clips of that last week. We have a House resolution. I want to show it to you. She was the border czar. Take a look at image number 1 here. She is, and she was. They named her the border czar. All you got to do is take a look. I've got this up on my social media. There it is. underlined in red, border czar. So why don't the radical liberal media members want you to see this? Because they try to squelch that out. The border is the number one driving issue of voters throughout America. How many images of illegal immigrants do we need to see flooding our country? We know that she was in charge of that, and it's been an abject failure. So she's attached to the entire debacle of the Biden-Harris foreign policy, domestic policy, all of it. And remember back into the days when we were trying to exit from Afghanistan. Biden, in all of his genius, right, and Kamala Harris, who always said that she was right there by Biden's side for every major decision. In fact, she goes on to say that she was always the last person to leave the room after major decisions were made with regards to domestic and foreign policy. And what she means by that, I'm not denying that she was or wasn't. Maybe she was the last person, but what she means when she says that is that she was a co-partner with Biden in creating all of these administrative decisions, whether it's policy, domestic, or foreign. And so I want you to think back and remember Afghanistan, that debacle that we had when we exited that country and we left billions and trillions of dollars in cash and tier one military equipment for the Taliban. And thanks to that, Taliban is now more armed and better armed than all of our allies in that region of the world, precisely because of the mistakes that Biden and Harris made. Not to mention of not to mention the American soldiers who died, the 13 servicemen and women who died during that escape route. I have a clip for you where she is talking. Kamala is talking about being the key architect that framed that entire plan to leave Afghanistan. She was the last one to leave the room, right there by Joe's side. She's going to have to answer for it because nothing with regards to this team, Biden and Harris, has been productive and beneficial for America. Take a look. Clip number 3, ladies and gentlemen.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
She says that like she's so convinced that she's proud of it, and she is. That's going to sting her because American servicemen and women died on that day. And she's claiming right there that she was the architect of that plan along with Administrator Biden. Vice Pretender Harris has blood on her hands, ladies and gentlemen. These issues will all come out. They're coming out. You're seeing them right here. But they're going to be part of the political discussion within the country over the next few weeks and months. So you just saw her. She admitted it. Biden, her, the architects of the debacle that happened in Afghanistan. She was the last person in the room, she says. A failed and deadly event. No competence. It's no wonder that her own people, her own party, don't like her. It's obvious. The enthusiasm surrounding her is fake. Now, today, the economy in America. We look around. You know, I know. We can't go to the store and pay the same price as we did 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. The cost of living is skyrocketing to its highest levels ever in our history. The cost of food, fuel, key among the pain points that Americans are feeling in the economy today. Inflation at an all-time high. If they're telling you it's 10%, you can bet it's 15%. And the flood, again, of illegal immigrants who are coming into this country. Kamala Harris wants to give them the rights to vote in our republic. And I was the first person, my friends, to tell you back when I started this show. I came on with this show in January of 2021, and it was just in February of 21 where I was telling you that the key reasons that they're opening up these borders and letting these illegal immigrants come in is because they want that group of people, they want them to become their new electoral base. Take this box of ballots, fill it out, and give it to the guy in the white van, and we'll give you free stuff, free education, health care, all of it. They want to diminish the national identity of America. It's absolutely purposeful chaos, and Biden and Harris are responsible for it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, got to go take another break. Time flies here. I do want to continue to remind you, 901-316-8404. Call on in, get on the list, talk to me. What are your thoughts? What do you think? I'll be right back after this break. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. All right. Doug Billings here with you, The Right Side. Thanks very much, my friends, for being with me shoulder to shoulder. We stand, you and I, shoulder to shoulder as we try to reclaim our republic from the grip of this communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, and their coalition of immorality that has been thrust upon us. I ask you for your help always to produce and to distribute this program, and that happens primarily at DougBillings.us. If you head over to my website, DougBillings.us, there's an opportunity to prayerfully consider donating a reoccurring monthly donation so that I can bring you this show. I don't charge you for the show. The show's free, always. But to help me out, you just decide prayerfully, what does the truth worth to you? What is the truthful analysis that I give you? What's that worth? And you can set up a recurring monthly donation based on whatever you decide the answer to that question is over at DougBillings.us. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. We are, as I say, shoulder to shoulder. So Kamala Harris, having to shoulder everything that the Biden-Harris administration has stood for over the last 3.5 years. And she is not going to be able to withstand the storm that comes with regards to the truth about that administration. Everything they've stood for results in chaos. Look around you. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. Everything that we're experiencing here, the most tumultuous time, the worst administration as far as the president, vice president, in our nation's history. And I said before the break, we look at Bidenomics, inflation sky high, the cost of living. We can't live today. We can't afford these prices. People, rent, everything going up. And so she's going to have to own Bidenomics. And I have a clip of her, she's got to own it. And they're going to have to be able to answer the tough questions. Clip number 4, Kamala Harris talking about how she's so proud of what Bidenomics represents. See if you agree. Clip number 4, ladies and gentlemen.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Bidenomics is working. It's a term we're very proud of, I must tell you, because Bidenomics is working. It's working. Bidenomics. Bidenomics. And Bidenomics is working. All of this is part of our blueprint together for what America can be. This is Bidenomics. Bidenomics. That is called Bidenomics, and we are very proud of Bidenomics.
A great political ad from the Trump-Vance team there, and wow, Bidenomics. They're going to have to now. Between you and me, ladies and gentlemen, 70% of Americans do not believe that Bidenomics is any good, and the Democrat Party doesn't even publicly use that term anymore. In fact, they're under hierarchy rules and orders from that party hierarchy. Don't say Bidenomics anymore. It's not such a good thing after they're not saying it. Watch. Now, they were. For a couple of years there, they were going strong, just as we saw in that clip. Bidenomics, yeah, we're standing right by it. But they don't use the term anymore because it has been such a debacle, such a catastrophe. 70% of Americans do not agree that the country, at least as far as economics, the border, and other policies, platforms, and policies and politics that these people put forth, 70% of Americans do not agree. And so you'll see them put up these polls that come to us from God knows where. We don't know where the number, probably the thin air. Up, Kamala Harris, up over President Trump by huge margins. Now, folks, no one with any intellectual capital or intellectual maturity, as I say, nobody believes that. In fact, we can look and you'll begin to see millions upon millions of Democrats, people just like these ladies from Wisconsin. Now, you may remember last week I showed you this clip. I found it to be unbelievable that MSNBC would actually air this clip. Now, let me set this up. These are women who are Democrats, members of the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. But they are women who look at Biden and Harris and they're going, no. This is not what I signed up for. And they specifically are being asked in this focus group, what do you think of Kamala? And the answers are what resound with multiple millions of people. Again, Democrats now voting for Trump because they think Kamala is an idiot. Clip number 5, please, Logan. Here we go.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
I think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was supposed to be doing and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy. Well, it isn't. Not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring? Would make you consider voting for her?
No. Never consider voting for her. No. I would do RFK Jr. way before her. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And she's not the first woman to run for the presidency, Hillary Clinton. I'm assuming no one voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's not necessarily going to sway you to vote for a woman in office. When do you think America will have a female president?
When there's a competent one.
I don't get a good feel for her.
I think she's an idiot.
Right.
Mary, why do you think that she's not that bright?
Because she hasn't done anything in the time that she's had. We don't know anything about her as far as her 3 years so far in the White House. She's not.
There's, folks, I can't say it any clearer. That clip represents multiple millions of people. People who used to be on the on the Biden campaign trail, and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to vote for Administrator Biden. No problem. Let's give him and now they look around and they're thinking, this is not what I signed up for. So it is absolutely, trust me. Again, I'll end where I began today. The fake enthusiasm surrounding Kamala Harris is fake. Obviously, you can just look at these people on social media, X. I spend a lot of obviously this is what I do for a living. So I want to see what the kooks are saying. And every one of them, the elected class, the celebrity class, podcasters, influencers, everywhere. It's an avalanche of fake enthusiasm. They do not mean it. All they've got is calling, okay, what are we going to come up with? Well, let's call J.D. Vance and President Trump. Let's call them weird. Let's just say that they're weird and go with it and run with it. Meanwhile, they have people like this who we just saw, real salt of the earth Americans, in this case from Wisconsin, which is part of the Rust Belt, which J.D. Vance represents in great form and fashion. The Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Michigan. If Trump, those are the key battleground states. If President Trump wins just one of those states, he's back in the White House. And so, of course, the radical left liberal hierarchy is going to issue marching orders to everybody in the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, in the elected class, celebrity class, media, celebrity and podcast class, all of them. You're under orders. You've got to act enthusiastic about Kamala. I know that we couldn't stand her in 2020, and we still don't really like her, to be honest, but we've got to fake it. We've got to fake like we really like her. And besides, remember, the presidency isn't necessarily our primary goal. Now, would it be great if we get it? But we want to just push the needle to the left. That's our primary goal. And ladies and gentlemen, it is. That's what they're after. With every mention of illegal immigrants getting the right to vote, with every mention of Medicare for all, with every mention of debt forgiveness, no matter what the debt may be, with every mention of expanding or doing away with the Supreme Court. Every time they talk about these, they try to move the needle to the left so that the next candidate and the next people in line, whether it's the presidency, the Senate, or the Congress, what they're trying to do is set the needle to the left, move it to the left so that the conversation always goes more and more liberal. It's part of the reason why the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy does not exist anymore, of Bill Clinton, and even the party of Barack Obama. It doesn't exist. We are now at a radical left point in time for that party. They've gone so far to the left that millions upon millions of people are waking up, and they're, even if they voted for Biden, folks, they're waking up and they're saying to themselves, this is not what I signed up for. And they're abandoning that party by multiple millions. And it may just be for this election cycle. Maybe they'll swing back and vote Democrat next time, but not with this agenda on the table, not with Kamala Harris and what she represents on the table. Just look at her. You cannot fake knowledge. You cannot fake competency. Maybe if you do, it's just for a while, but you can't do it she's not competent. Like I said, she's turned the vice presidency into a no-show job. She is Vice Pretender Harris. And so therefore and thereby lies our hope that multiple millions are seeing the light, knowing the truth, and awakening to the fact that Trump represents the only thing that can stop this agenda, this radical left agenda. And your involvement in your local level, at your county level, in the state where you live, that's how we get our republic back. Get involved. We have a primary coming up. For many of us, it's August 6th in this country. Get out and vote on Election Day, please. In August for the primary, and obviously in November for the general election. That's how we win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Listen, a couple of things before I go. First of all, the Determined Patriotism Conference coming up in September 27th and 28th. Get the tickets that you need now. It's in Branson, Missouri. Friday, Saturday, September 27th, 28th. Myself, I'll be hosting the event. We're going to have Tier 1 speakers. Speakers are being added by the week, so here's what we have so far. But again, join us, Branson, Missouri. Go to determinedpatriotismconference.com. determinedpatriotismconference.com. Check out all of the information. We have hotels available for you. We have 2 days. We're going to go out Friday night to Branson and see a great show. Saturday, a great dinner together. And then in between, great speakers. Secondly, DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen, please stand with me shoulder to shoulder over on my website. We're going to have premier content delivered to everybody who signs up for a recurring monthly donation. You'll be able to have private Zoom and Skype calls with me on a weekly basis where I'll talk to you. DougBillings.us. Ladies and gentlemen, we do stand in shoulder to shoulder, saving the Republic from the grip of the coalition of immorality. I'm grateful and honored that you are there with me. Until next time, Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.